Effort is not unappreciated.
Yeah, turn on your microphones off.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the October meeting of the Village of Pinehurst Historic Preservation Commission. Purpose of the commission is to approve certificates of appropriateness for new construction or major work, and to do so by conducting hearings and making findings of fact when applications come before us. Our mission is to take no action except to preserve and approve that which is congruous with the special character of the Village of Pinehurst Historic District. I'm Eric Von Salzen, the chairman. I'm going to ask each of the commissioners to identify themselves, starting at my far left.
Richard Vincent.
Thomas Schroeder.
John Taylor.
Ann Lucy.
Terry Lurch. David Herring.
Also present are John Taylor, senior. Also present is Peter Hughes, senior planner, and Kelly Brown, planning and administrative assistant. We have no absences. We therefore have a quorum, and we can proceed. This is a quasi-judicial hearing, so anyone desiring to testify must be sworn in, and we are required to consider only facts presented in this hearing. Proceedings are video recorded. First, we will review and approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Is there any discussion? I have a motion to approve the minutes.
Sorry, Eric. One minor correction. One of you guys, oh no, sorry, both of you guys were here last week, right? Or last month.
I was here.
Yep, sorry, okay.
This is for the regular meeting, not the,
Regular meeting.
I move we accept.
Second?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, before we open the public hearing, I think all the members of the commission are aware we've got a new format for our motions. It'll be the first time we will use that format. We may take a little time to get used to it. And Tom had some preliminary comments he just wanted to share with us.
I just wanted to point out, I think probably the biggest issue I see with these, and everybody sees them, they start out with, it's usually the last 3 pages of one of them, and one of it starts out, it's got the Pinehurst symbol, and then the words draft right underneath it. That starts the part that is now the motion. So everything after the word draft is basically part of our motion, if we don't change what's on here. First of all, we can change anything we want on here, as long as it's corrected, and continue with it. So if you see something in a block that's not correct, we have to correct those. Okay. There are basically 2 areas that need to match, and the first one is the conclusion of law. It's a new block in there. And Peter, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is all of the must that you felt applied to this particular case. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So there is a complete list of what Peter's recommending are the must out of our standards. Those need to match, do one of 3 things. One, if there's one in there we don't think should be in there, then we can add it. If there's one in there that's in there that we don't, or that we think there's another one that should be in there, we can add it. But what we have to end up with at the end is that those conclusions of the law basically have to match the facts in the case. If there's a disparity between the 2 of those, we got A, a problem, or B, we have to note that difference in our findings. So you have to basically then make some kind of statement in the findings saying, and I'm just going to make something so blatantly easy to understand, if the conclusions of law says something should be red and the facts show up as something is blue, we got 2 choices. First choice is we have to say, okay, there's a difference, and it's okay to be different and still come up with the same conclusion, or we have to find different facts or different conclusions to make them match. Does that make sense? Anybody, I want to make sure, that's my assumption. Is anybody, please, if you don't think that's right? And you're an attorney, and does that make conclusions of law and findings of fact basically have to match, or we have to state why they don't match?
I think one way that it's helpful to think about this, and it's the motivation for Peter coming up with the new format for us. I think it does, for the reasons that Tom has just pointed out, it provides a kind of a handy checklist for us as we go through the record in a case as we're preparing for a hearing to highlight for ourselves what the important issues are. The second thing is, and this is more something that lawyers are used to than non-lawyers, but there's always the possibility that a decision that we make will be appealed to court. If it's appealed to court, this paper record that we make when we render a decision is the primary basis on which the court will consider the case. They'll also consider, of course, the record of the hearing itself, but in evaluating whether we have provided a good reason for our decision that's based on what's in the record, that's the first place the court is going to go. And so since none of us want to waste our time rendering a decision that's going to get thrown out the first time it goes to court, we want to be very careful. And this is a step, I think a good step in that direction. But it does mean a little more work for us here at the hearings. So,
And one other thing that I think it's good for is when you go out to look at the site, that's the list of things that we must address. They're the musts in the standards. That's the things that we have to address. So when you're looking at the sites, those are probably good things to look at in doing your assessment of the site when you're out looking at it. So that kind of helps narrow the scope, because if it's not in here, if it's not in that must, then it's not something we can use to make the decision on, because it's maybe a recommendation, and we have a lot of recommendations in there, but those cannot be used to make the decisions. Only the musts are what we have to use to make the decisions. And giving this format, then that has to be in those conclusions of law.
not forget that our ultimate standard is it congruous with
Right.
the special character
Right.
of the Pinehurst Historic District. I think I've memorized that phrase
Which-
after a year and a half.
Which goes to my question. So we agree on the findings of fact, the musts, but there are a sufficient number of shoulds that for whatever reason we don't like, or we
Right.
find the shoulds are incongruous,
Right.
we're still permitted to deny or request
Correct.
or defer.
Absolutely, but we just have to make sure it's in the record why we did that. If it's in the must, then they match.
But it's not just the musts that determine whether we, right.
That's still an independent decision that we come up with, and they don't have to. The conclusions of law can say red, and the evidence can say blue, but if we put in the record why there's a disparity between the two of them, and it makes logical sense, then that's okay too.
I just want to clarify what John said about the shoulds. The shoulds are not the standards, the must are, so the applicant needs to meet the must. You wouldn't technically be able to deny purely on a should. I just want to make that clear.
It has
We're all
to
on
be
the same
explained,
page.
yes.
Yeah.
Any other,
My thought is it would take more than one should. It would have to be
It'd
an
have to be
awfully
pretty massive.
egregious should, which I'm not sure I can conjure.
The number of shoulds would have to make it incongruous, and that's where you'd have to make your statement is that the number of shoulds made it incongruous. But just the shoulds by themselves, as standalones, do not make that.
So just, Tom, what you're saying is there's two buckets under conclusions of law, and you're saying that when the must bucket is delineated, we got to be really careful about editing those or adding or subtracting? No?
we can add a different, if we think one of these is incorrect and shouldn't be there, as a group, we can take that out. If we think there's another one somewhere in the standards that's a must that ought to be there, we can add that.
Okay,
But-
we're just going to see whether Peter's covered the waterfront, in other words, as to
Yes,
all the,
yeah,
okay.
that's still our responsibility.
Yeah.
We can't rely on that, but that's what he's recommending, is that first block. Now, the guideline recommendations is another block. Don't misconstrue with that. That's just the one block labeled under conclusion of law that we're talking about.
Well, I don't know, you seem to have them both under conclusions of law, no?
They're both, sorry, they are both there,
Yeah,
and they're part of your conclusion of law.
yeah.
But the musts under the requirements is what you guys are making your true findings on. The others, if they're not meeting, let's say that shutters should be operable or appear to be operable, if they don't have operable shutters, that's fine.
All right, well, we'll see how the first one goes then.
That's the gist of it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yes, that will be the format that we will use. So it's learning by doing.
Exactly, and I apologize that we weren't able to do this in a work session, but I think we'll be okay.
May I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, the members of the commission are aware of the cases on our docket. Going around the room in the usual order, I'll ask the commissioners to disclose any site visits or ex parte communications. Richard?
Visited all the sites except for 75 Cherokee and 245
Magnolia?
Magnolia. No ex parte communication.
I've visited all the sites on the agenda and have had no ex parte communication.
I visited all the sites, had no ex parte communications. I would like to disclose that with respect to 75 Cherokee Road, it's actually been 20 years now. I do know the owners, and actually the husband of the owner and I work together. I don't believe there's any conflict here, but
Thank you for that disclosure. I visited all the sites and have had no ex parte communications.
I visited all the sites, no ex parte communication, and just want to disclose at 160 Palmetto that the applicant has done work for me, but I don't feel it's a conflict of interest.
Mary?
I visited all the sites except Palmetto Road, no ex parte communication.
Visited all, no communication.
Thank you. Peter, will you raise your right hand? Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
The first case is a 2020-00123 involving the property at 30 Cadell Road. To affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Peter, would you proceed to the case?
Yes, sir. This public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District for multiple exterior modifications to a primary structure within the Historic District at 30 Cadell Road. The exterior modifications include replacement of multiple windows, replacement of siding material, removal and replacement of existing decking, and painting of the exterior of the structure. The property can be identified in Moore County Tax Registry by Moore County PIN number 855-212-972-275. The property owner and applicant is Amy Nicholas. This is the second time we're hearing this case, so I'm going to try to briefly go through the background on it. This is the front elevation and side elevation of the 30 Cadell address. We have had a previous case history of one major COA in 2007 replacement of windows and a minor COA for replacement of a driveway in 2018. The adjacent structures, including 30 Cadell itself, are considered contributing except for 255 Magnolia Road. This is the notified map. As you can see, 6 properties were notified that were adjacent to 30 Cadell. This request is before the commission for a second time because according to the Historic District guidelines, replacement of siding or resurfacing an exterior wall with different material is a major work item. The applicant's full request includes replacement of existing and deteriorating wood siding with a fiber cement product paint the exterior of the structure with a different color that is consistent with the Village of Pinehurst color palette, replacement of the existing decking with composite material, and replacement of 4 windows with like-for-like material, and replacement of a portion of the front porch under the covered area with cement flooring, and replacement of lattice skirting with brick foundation. Here you can see the proposed material and the existing material for the siding. On the bottom left, you see the Dutch lap, and then you have the proposed traditional horizontal clapboard in the center there. And she will be reciting all 4 sides of the house. The 2 rear windows are proposed to be replaced, as well as the 2 on the left elevation. The applicant has stated previously that she would like to salvage 2 of them if she can repair them, but if not, replacement will be needed. These are the existing stairing, proposed stair rail, and existing siding. She's proposing a composite material to replace the decking flooring. Composite material is compliant or comparable with the existing material. The applicant's new request includes changing the the lattice skirting underneath the front porch to brick. As you can see on the other parts of her structure, she already has brick foundation on site, so that would be consistent with the architecture and compliant with the guidelines. As well, the applicant did submit a photo of another property within the historic district. This is of 20 Medlin Road with a front porch that has a brick foundation and cement swept. This was another applicant's submitted photo. She'll explain this later. And then she also submitted adjacent photos of properties with different types of siding in the historic district. This is one of her neighboring properties that does exhibit that Dutch lap siding that we're talking about. She's showing a zoomed in photo of the second story. Once again, this is another property on 30 Cadell exhibiting that lap siding. And then this is an accessory structure as well. As you can see, this one is not the Dutch lap siding that we were talking about today, but it is a different type of lap siding, as well as this one is. I do not know the address of this one. And then obviously the probably most memorable structure, the Carolina Hotel, is a lap siding vinyl, which is different from the Dutch lap siding. The proposed material has not changed from what was amended in the previous application. That at this time, staff would like to submit the following to the record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant's material, photos, site plans, and findings of fact.
I get to comment on those pictures because, okay.
Do you guys have any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Mr. Hughes by members of the commission before we go ahead with the testimony for the applicant? Yes, we'll have an opportunity to do that. Okay. All right, Ms. Nicholas.
Eric, could you scoot up to your mic, please?
Oh, sure, sorry.
Sorry about that.
As I recall it, when we finished up last month, you had dealt with the decking, the front porch, and the side deck. It's also sometimes called the front deck, but in any event, you dealt with that, and you dealt with the bricks that were going to be underneath the porch. Is there anything on those issues that you would like to supplement at this time, or can we go on to what was then the next issue we were discussing was the siding?
No additional information for those issues other than updating the materials list with examples and other photos.
All right. We broke last month when we were discussing the siding issue. And as I recall it, and correct me if I'm misremembering, the issue under discussion was whether the existing deteriorated Dutch lap siding should be replaced with a hardy board form of lap siding that is not Dutch. I think that's where we were. And we took a break so that you could do some further research on that issue. Is that a good place for you to start your presentation
That's a perfect
today?
spot. Yes, sir. Okay, so per your request, I investigated the cost difference between the regular lap siding, cementitious board material, and the Dutch lap style of that same cementitious board. So I've submitted the cost difference of $6 per board, per my contractor estimate, for the regular lap, and $42.84 per board for the Dutch lap siding. It equates to over a $20,000 difference in materials cost, which I am testifying that is not feasible for me financially. To support my use of the traditional lap siding, I found some pictures. This is my neighbor at 40 Cadell, I'm 30. This home does have wood Dutch lap siding. However, there are inconsistencies all around the home if you walk the exterior. They have replaced boards with various styles of wood siding over time, and so there's no consistent style on that home. This home is 20 Cadell. This is vinyl Dutch lap siding. It is not wood. They don't know when it was placed on there. It was before they bought it. However, if you go to the next picture, they recently renovated the pool house. This is still 20 Cadell, and used the Hardy Plank regular lap siding. The next photo is of 100 McLean, which is right around the corner from me, with lap siding style, the traditional lap that I would be using. And then I've submitted photos of Medlin Road. I believe it was back also, that's the concrete porch and the front brick. This is also a home in the village with the regular lap siding style, in addition to, of course, the Carolina Inn, which we all know. So any questions about the additional evidence I submitted?
Well, we can proceed to the balance of your case and then
Okay,
have questions on
that's all I
those.
have to comment on then. Yep.
Now, let's see, you have discussed the deck, the porch, the siding. You have some other issues here, don't you?
Windows, they're another issue.
Well, that wasn't a lingering issue.
It wasn't a lingering issue, but you hadn't gotten to it last month, as I recall.
Oh, I don't recall there being any issues with that. The issues I recalled we had to continue this for were for the updated materials list for the porch foundation,
Right.
the wood-covered porch flooring, and the porch, so, yeah.
Had you discussed, have I just forgotten that you discussed the windows?
Yes, we are discussing the windows.
Discussed those? Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My apologies then.
yeah, it was just the deck, the porch, the lattice to brick, and the siding style.
All right. So does that then complete your presentation in support?
It does, yes, sir.
Questions of the applicant by members?
I have a question of Peter. Has there been a COA in the past that we know of?
For this property?
On the siding issue, just curious.
On this particular property?
Nope, any property.
Any property, has there been an issue for us?
If anyone
on-
else here recalls, I'm just curious.
I do not recall an issue with a previous applicant changing their siding, but I also do not recall one changing it from Dutch lap siding to horizontal lap siding. But there was a case at 30 Orange that they changed stucco to lap siding. There was a case at 125 Kelly that they changed stucco to fiberglass siding. Medlin Road changed their shake to fiberglass, or not fiberglass, my bad, fiber cement. So it's a case that's come before where siding has transitioned from something different.
But not specifically Dutch to non-Dutch lap siding, is that
Not
correct?
during my tenure. There could have been cases prior.
Before we go into.
Actually, for the record, there is one 255 Magnolia transitioned away from Dutch lap siding, and that's in your record there. It's under the packet for your table of property histories. It talks about how the German lap siding was removed.
Thank you. Before we proceed to the commission's discussion, is there anyone else in the room who intends to give testimony in connection with this case? If so, I can swear you in at this time. Hearing none, let us proceed to discuss this case. Comments?
I do, I think. The one Peter just raised, and this is just a note, is a non-contributing property. 255 Magnolia is listed as non-contributing, and the other 4 that are listed on that list are as contributing.
I'm having trouble hearing you, Tom.
Oh, I'm sorry. Probably other people are too. I'll speak up. I said 255 Magnolia, which Peter had just mentioned as having been changed, is a non-contributing property. The other 4 on there, which are contributing properties, all have German siding, which apparently is also known as Dutch siding. Just there, and I happen to notice going through the rest of the cases tonight, there is a significant amount of German siding in Pinehurst.
Of various materials, though. There's vinyl German, for instance,
Oh,
20.
you're right.
Okay.
I'm not
I don't-
arguing.
I would
that-
not consider, I would hope you would not want me to put vinyl siding on my
And
home.
I'm
or
not-
cementitious. Okay.
And I'm not, this is just a comment on my part. I'm not trying to make anything. I did have a couple of questions, and if you can, just half a moment. There was an issue about muttons and being snapped in. Are they snap-in muttons, or are they actual between the glass, or what?
I have no idea what a mutton is, so you're asking the wrong person.
It's a divide in the window. You've got a pane
Oh.
of glass, and you've got the
They're-
pieces, the strips that go around, if that
They're
helps.
snapped in, they're not inside. They're exterior. Is that what you mean? They're not inside the glass.
Okay, they can,
Can I-
yeah, we'll ask,
And they're-
David, if he could help me.
Welcome back.
Nice to see you. Yes. Appreciate the welcome back.
The little snap-in pieces are not allowed. But
I
your
don't-
particular window comes with 3 other types, so you just need to pick one.
So if the snap-ins are not allowed, it will not be a snap-in. There you
Right
go.
answer.
There you go. That's answers my question.
The record will show that the application has been so amended. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Now, the material you show for the siding right now, which is Exhibit I guess, yes, shows that it's non-beaded board. The picture on the right well, I guess my package is slightly different than his. No, this is the beaded board it shows. It's part of I guess. Except on mine.
I don't have that in the PowerPoint, but I can bring it up if you'd like to talk about it.
Yes, because it kind of makes it easy enough to,
Just give me a second, please.
otherwise it's hard for me to explain what I'm talking about. It's easy if you see it.
While Peter's looking for the photograph, I was not here last month. The issue is whether to permit, or whether we will approve a, let's call it a straight siding versus the Dutch lap siding now.
That is correct. That is the issue that we took a recess on so that it could be further addressed.
Well, we're waiting.
Go ahead.
A clarification in terms of our scope of service on the commission. Consideration of or analysis of construction cost is outside our scope.
Right. I think that's-
Financial burden, though, is taken into consideration from what I've been explained.
Well, when we get into, we're now at the point of discussion among the members of the commission, so unless you're specifically invited to comment, you shouldn't.
Oh, that's
All
very
right.
different than last time.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. We're sometimes a little bit loosey-goosey about this, but yes, I think you're correct. We would not want to decide a case on the basis of cost.
Is it not a factor, or just shouldn't be the determining factor? Is it no factor at all?
To me, it's a factor in the sense of, has a reasoned decision been made by the applicant? That, to me, seems to be something I care about. That doesn't mean that we ought to accept something that is unsatisfactory just because it's cheap. In fact, the fact of the matter is we exist, our guidelines exist very often to prevent cheap alternatives for being used that would degrade the historic district.
Well, it all boils back to congruity.
And I think we do with respect to demolitions. We ask the question, would a delay impose a financial hardship? And so that,
But that's only on the delay then, not
Right.
on the final. Okay, back to my, this picture over here on the left shows beaded siding. See the little bead along the bottom of it? Now, if Peter will go back to the other,
That's not a, that was not submitted as an example of the siding, that was submitted as an example of the trim.
okay, that was my question. So
Yeah.
then the board that's on the other half of my eye
Right, yeah,
is just solid, and there is no bead on the edge of that.
that's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I understood that. That's all I have. I'll let David deal with the other issue that he had.
Any other comments? I've been pondering this case for the last month. And of course, our standard for decision, our ultimate standard for decision, is whether what is proposed, what comes before us, is congruous with the historic district. And not whether it's economical, not whether it's something that we like more than something else. It's whether it is congruous with the historic district. What I have seen in the record today is that there are various kinds of lap siding that are used in the historic district. I'll leave aside the question of materials because we have no concern, as I understand it, about the materials that Ms. Nicholas is planning to use. She's not using vinyl or some cheap substitute. She's using a hardy material that we have repeatedly approved. So that's not the issue. The issue here is solely one of design or aesthetics. And if I'm understanding the record correctly, the kind of lap siding that she's proposing to use, although some people may not like it as well, is found throughout our historic district, and I would find it hard to conclude, based on this record, that it's not congruous with the historic district. Others may feel differently. But I throw that out for consideration.
No, you say it's not a matter of like or dislike. It's, this is an historic house that was the original, and it's just sad to see it go. I mean, I guess we have no real, as I see it, no real basis for denying your request, but it's just a shame to see that original lap siding style go.
Like you, Eric, I've thought long and hard about this one, difficult issue. To me, it comes down to the phrase compatible with the architecture of the structure. That's one of the must statements in that section of the guidelines, not guidelines, standards. There are numerous examples of buildings that are contributing buildings with German siding, which is the same as lap siding, same as Dutch lap siding. For me, in each case where we describe, or Peter helps us with a description of contributing structures, if it has German siding on it, it's always pointed out, which to me strengthens its importance as part of the characteristics of a house that make it notable, worth saving, historic, and certainly if you were, as an example, to go from Dutch lap to something else on a building that, on a house that was built in 1915 with Dutch lap siding, some of its architectural character is being compromised. I would think that if, whether or not it's German lap siding or not German lap siding, were not an important characteristic of the architecture, it wouldn't be so noted in virtually every case where it exists. So for me, it makes it that much more difficult. Would it be possible for us to take a straw poll before we
Well,
proceed?
let's continue the discussion, because you've raised what seems to me to be a fundamental issue. My understanding of our role is that we are here to protect the historic district as a whole. We are not here, we're not authorized to protect individual properties as landmarks. There are landmark commissions in various jurisdictions, and there's a complicated process by which people can either volunteer their property to have landmark status, and they get certain benefits to that, or landmark status can be imposed on them, and that imposes certain limitations. If this were an individual landmark, then the argument that any change of the kind we're discussing here might be inappropriate would certainly be on the table. But we are here to protect the historic district as a whole, and since there is non-Dutch lap siding throughout the historic district, I find it hard to grasp how I could say that nonetheless this proposal, if granted, would not be congruous with the historic district. We have a lot of non-Dutch siding here.
For what it's worth, Peter, or Eric, one of the properties we're going to review later on at 75 Cherokee has both Dutch lap and non-Dutch lap siding. So it's on one property, you're going to see it. So, and I agree with you. I think our idea here is this consistent and congruous with the Historic Commission? I think it is.
But by the same token, Eric, picking up certainly the first half of your logic, the fact that you can find other examples somewhere does not by itself make it congruous. I don't think we want to impose the burden of any applicant to do a survey to say, well, it's not just 3 houses, it's actually 471. Yet, as a board, as a commission, every time we grant something that wasn't the same, then there are more of them out there, and therefore the standards effectively do decline. So I'm very much torn with this. Having sold a house that was historic to someone who's turned it into a VRBO, that's not our purview, but they've certainly changed the character of how that house was used, even though on the outside there have been no changes whatsoever. I don't know. I think this is a difficult one.
And I also would like to go back and talk a little bit about the National Historic Landmark Survey, and I agreed with what you said up to the point that this is part of that actual group that has been it, and the survey indicated, the structure history indicated a German siding coving. So, I mean, there is something to that, and I'm not sure it's overruling a congruity issue, but it is part of what was found on the survey, be it self-imposed or governmental imposed. I don't know, because it doesn't say that,
But that is contributing to the landmark status of the area, not the historic district. They're geographically similar, but they're not the same thing.
they're not the same. I agree.
Eric, I might take another tack. If we're saying that if a particular design, not material, a particular design of a product, let's take siding as an example, if that exists in sufficient quantity anywhere in the district, it can be used on any house in the district. And it seems to me that each house has a particular style, a collection of elements, materials, shapes, designs that make that particular house's style remarkable. It has a special character as a result. down the street might be a completely different style that, by virtue of its style, would incorporate different designs, materials, textures, and so forth. So just for me, just because that material exists in quantity anywhere doesn't give it license to be applied to any style.
I don't disagree with that. And one of the things that we have, I think, all discussed in various contexts is that we don't want to be in a position where we say that any new construction or modification will be approved if there's something somewhere in the district that looks the same thing or is just as unsatisfactory. But I don't think that's the situation we're dealing with here. We're dealing with what is, I will express a personal opinion, a very attractive house that contributes to the pleasure that I take in driving down Cadell Road when I pass it by, and I have for some time. I don't think that I'm going to be materially dismayed to drive by the same house in a few months and see it has a different kind of siding. In fact, unless I walk up fairly close to it, which I haven't tended to do, probably wouldn't even notice the difference. You would, because you're an architect and you care about a lot of things that some of us may not even be aware of. But I have a hard time. I mean, look, everybody in this room, and I think the homeowner, I include the homeowner, if it were feasible to use the Dutch lap siding, we'd all applaud that. And I don't disagree with the sentiment that we're not here to make budgetary considerations, but a homeowner has come to us without any nefarious objective and said, this is what I want to do. I have to preserve my property. The existing siding is deteriorating. I've got to replace it. I want to replace it with this product. I can't say that that decision is congruous with our historic district as a whole.
Okay, I'd like to just go back to the conclusions of law and look at item number 5 that is listed under there, because I think that's what we have to meet and it might help focus it. And I'll read it just for the record. It says, new wooden features or details or replacement of missing features or detail or element must be compatible with the architectural character of the structure and must be congruous with the Pinehurst Historical District. So there really is 2 parts to that. The first part is it must be compatible with the architectural character of the structure, and it must be congruous as well by our own standards, and that's the way they're written. So there really is a 2-step process here, I think, that I think David was mentioning here a minute ago with the, it has to be compatible with that given structure, but also congruous with the historical district. So there's the other. So kind of, if I can kind of summarize what I'm hearing is it may be congruous with the Pinehurst Historical District, and we've kind of brought up information that would indicate that because there are other places which this has been done. I think the question then comes back, if that's the direction we're headed, then the question comes back, is it compatible with the architectural character of the structure? And that's the part I think we're kind of discussing here. Maybe I'm mistaken, I don't know, but that's what I see. If we can get both of those, then it's passable, I would say.
Question for you, Ms. Nichols. So and I may have missed this, but the material, the boral, the replacement to replace like for like, that's a wooden product?
No, it's a cementitious board.
Okay, got it.
Ash, actually, not cementitious, but
Oh.
close enough, man-made.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Again, close enough. Not good.
But, so Tom, what does compatible mean then, in your
There
view?
you go.
That's what you put to a vote, that's the
Yeah.
subjective, that's
Well,
where we.
and I think
decide
we
some
may
of
have a
this.
definition, and if Peter will look it up, and also, a lot of these terms are defined in our standards as to what compatible is. It's not in the standards? Okay.
I don't think so, is it, Eric?
As a separate question, would we be permitted to approve those elements of the application related to the porch and the windows, but not this pending further consideration, not the siding, if that's acceptable to the homeowner?
We've already continued this now into 2 months of work that I would be missing. I would ask that that not happen. I would not do the other work if this were not approved. It's all part of the same demolition and effort, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
I'm going to suggest that we've been discussing this without having a motion before us, and I think it would probably help focus us if someone would make a motion.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Barry, proceed.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed major work at 30 Cadell Road congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with historic district guidelines based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact.
Is there a second? All right. The motion fails for want of a second. Richard, are you indicating you have a motion to make?
Can I make a comment on that? If you would, well, she's already on the record stated that the windows would not include snap-on muntins. So even though the application materials are different, we have her on record addressing the window issue. So then to go back to what Terry said, so if everyone's good with that, if he'd remake that motion, I'd second that, if you even have to remake it.
I didn't see an issue with the windows based on the testimony from the respondent. I'm sorry.
No, if I can second his motion, I'll second his motion.
All right.
I was looking for clarification on the windows, if it was not consistent because of the windows, and we would make an exception to that, so.
I think the record will show that we have worked out the snap-in mutton dilemma. So, all right, the motion has been made and seconded. Discussion.
There is a definition of compatible, and Peter had it up there a minute ago. Actually, this is out of our standards, correct, Peter? Okay. Just so we're all working from the same definition. You got to make it a little smaller. Yeah, there you go.
And the implication is by including the phrase "the design" that the proposed change would fail this standard.
I just, there's the definition.
I just
Question mark.
want you guys to pay attention to the words, though. All effort should be made to replace the historic fabric of the building using the same material as the original construction. That includes the type of materials, the design, dimension, mass, scale, orientation, color, detail, and texture. Substitute materials can be used if the original material is no longer available. Substitute materials should match the historic materials as closely as possible, physically and visually. This does not apply to hidden structural components. Use of replacement materials should be limited to the scope and only to the elements that are deteriorating beyond repair.
Well, it gets down
Already
to,
crossed the Rubicon of saying we're perfectly amenable to having a modern cement composite material used in substitution for the good old-fashioned American wood with which this house was originally built. So we've crossed that part. An issue might be whether a different form of lap siding violates that should requirement that we've just been reading.
Peter, could you put the definition up again, please? In my opinion, not my sentiment, but my opinion reading It does not match the same design, though. Clearly, the issue is not whether it's hardy plank or cement board or not. That, I think we've gone well beyond that in the past.
But we're down to the definition of the word compatible, and I think what we've already said, with the use of different types of lap siding within the historic district, we'd have to consider this material as proposed as compatible. I don't think you can make any other judgment.
All I'm saying is that the words are, must be compatible with the architectural character of that particular structure. There's a two-step part here. I mean, I absolutely agree with your point on the matter of congruity. Must be congruous with the Pinehurst Historical District, and those meet that. But the question I have, and I don't know the answer to, and I'm not making a decision on right now, is the fact, is it compatible with the architectural, do we consider it compatible with the architectural character of the structure?
I think everybody's going to have to make that decision on their own.
I agree. That's my question, and that's why I bring up the point.
You're not going to find that in the dictionary or in the guidelines. That's what you
Oh, I
assess
agree.
it to be.
And that's very much within our scope and should be doing. I
Right.
agree.
We're dealing with aesthetics in that issue, and aesthetics are a very personal issue.
Terry made the motion, I seconded, no one else was in support, correct?
Don't know.
We haven't voted.
So we haven't voted, so we don't know.
But I think
I guess
people's
I'm-
interpretation, Terry, of your point will be based on how they vote.
Just for the.
I'd like to add what I think is really the crux for me, and that is that the components of this whole section that make it crystal clear to me whether it is one we could approve or not approve lies in those clauses which include the word should. And in my mind, that is the responsibility of this commission to work on, to make it crystal clear so that it can be easily understood by an applicant as well as all of us. Since it isn't in the must clauses, it's not clear, it's got to be just as confusing to the applicant as it is to us. And that's for us to fix. All I have to say.
I agree with that. I think we also have to remember that under our statute, our primary directive is to determine whether a proposal is congruous with the special character of the Pinehurst Historic District. Shoulds and even musts are tools that we use in order to make that decision in particular cases. But I've already expressed my opinion on the issue before the motion was even made, and I haven't changed it since the motion was made. Do we have further discussion, or are we prepared to vote?
Thing then we have to do is decide whether it's compatible with the architectural character or not. Or if it's not, then we need to address that somehow.
You could change the motion to say not consistent and approve it because it's been proven to be congruous. So you could choose the second motion template saying it's congruous with the district, but incongruous with the standards.
And if we do, we should specify, I mean, let's say she was proposing to put all vertical siding on there, for example. So perhaps we should justify why this is congruous.
Not compatible,
Yeah.
necessarily compatible, but it's still congruous, and therefore we're approving it. So, and I'm just throwing those out there, not even as a recommendation to the motion change or anything.
Terry, if your motion were revised and if your seconder accepted it, would you be agreeable to using the second form that is not consistent, nevertheless congruous?
Why do you say that, sir? Why do you think it is not consistent?
I don't necessarily think it isn't, but I'm thinking that we need to get a majority of us to agree on something.
I'd be happy to help explain why I think it's not consistent, but possibly congruous.
Just in view of this discussion going on forever, I will revisit that with a motion, as you suggest, if that'll make this commission happier. Because I don't see it as a big deal, but some other
Terry,
people do.
Just for protocol, the motion had been seconded, so you guys do need to take a vote.
You have a motion on the floor, you can't, I
Call
can't
the
do that.
question on the motion.
So you have to vote, and then the second motion could be stated if it needs to be.
Right.
All right. With that understanding, this is the original Lertz motion.
Right.
The poll. All in favor say aye. Richard?
Aye.
No.
No?
No?
Aye.
No.
Yes?
Fails?
You entertain, okay. I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed major work at 30 Cadell Road is not consistent with the Historic District guidelines, nevertheless is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact.
Second.
Second?
Could I offer a statement for the reason that might be a friendly amendment?
Offer friendly amendment.
The reasons, the reason that the application is not consistent is that the design of the lap siding has been changed from German siding to lap siding. Should I expand?
But that's already in the you got to do something besides it. That's what we're voting on.
Well, I think if we were to have said it was congruous and consistent, we would stop there. But since we
Well,
are
I think
saying-
the issue is, David, is compatible, not consistent. Compatible is what we're dealing with.
Okay, let me try again. The use of lap siding in lieu of German siding is not compatible with the architecture of the structure, but is close enough to be congruous.
Very good.
All right, will you accept that?
Absolutely.
amendment? Richard, will you accept that amendment? Oh, no,
Absolutely.
you
What was
didn't.
John Taylor second?
I happily accept that and
Right.
continue to second.
All right. Is there any further discussion, or can we take a vote?
Take a vote.
All right, all in favor, going from Richard around?
Aye.
Aye.
With some reluctance, aye.
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 Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Oh, I was going to say, what does that mean, though?
It means we wish you had gone with.
You don't
your
have to come
side.
back.
Making me sweat for a little bit, thank you.
Just as a reminder, the new format, you guys adopted the findings of fact, but now you need a motion to approve the COA. We'll need a second motion.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed major work on 30 Cadell Road.
Second.
And for those that didn't see that, it's on the back of the same page for which we just took the original motion from.
I believe we still have to formally vote.
You do.
Right.
All right. But it has been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes.
Now she has her COA.
You gotta,
I actually will say I like the dividing of the motion from the approval. Because in many cases, it seemed in our old language that we were approving something before it had even been voted on. So I will thank Peter for this work, or anyone else who contributed.
thank you, Paul. All right.
Also helpful in making modifications, it was not just me.
Peter, is our next case 100 Fields Road?
Station.
We will take a short break in place.
If, while while we pause momentarily, my reluctance in approving is every time we do this, we make it harder to ever say no.
True.
Um,
But you know, one of the things that I've observed, and you've been on the commission longer than I have, that people who come, almost all the people who come before us, pay attention to our guidelines, and they are trying constraints that they face in most instances. We've had a few areas out Linden Road where I think, that might not have been quite the effort. But generally speaking, people try to do so. And so we should consider it a victory that very few cases come before us that we feel
No, our purpose is not to say no. We want to be biased towards saying yes, but if there are standards that we are supposed to defend, we have to be able to say no sometime.
Not necessarily. Each case still has to be taken on its own merits.
Understand.
You cannot say, well, we approved it over here, therefore we have to approve it there. Now, over here can be an example of something, but it does not mean that because we approved it over there that we must approve it here, because now you're taking the merits of that case and imposing them on this case.
And
So if we're very careful about taking each case on what's presented to us,
I apologize,
think you
guys.
get away from that.
We have a long case, though. We have a lot of
Are we,
people.
all right, let us proceed with the next case, which is 100 Fields Road. Is the applicant present? You will please come over and stand at the microphone. State your name, please, sir.
Wayne Haddock.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission in this proceeding shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
This public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District for modifications to a previously approved major COA at 100 Fields Road. The property can be further identified in the Moore County Tax Registry by Moore County PIN number 856-205-079-778. The property owners are Dale and Mary Carey, and the applicant is Pinehurst Homes. A previous major COA was granted in 2020 for the construction of a new single-family structure and accessory structure. The applicant is proposing to modify the accessory structure. 100 Field Roads is a vacant lot and not listed within the National Historic Landmark Survey, and if approved, it would not be considered a contributing structure. 4 of the adjacent lots are considered contributing structures. And here's the notification map for the 9 properties that were notified that are adjacent to 100 Fields Road. This request is before the commission because the applicant has proposed a modification to a previously approved major COA that does not qualify as minor work, meaning staff cannot approve it. According to the Historic District Guidelines, replacement of architectural details that change the design or materials from existing details and eliminating or adding windows or doors are considered major work. The applicant has proposed to enclose a portion of the previously approved accessory structure, add an entry door to the right elevation, replace a door with a window on the rear elevation, and add a window to the front elevation. All major work must be approved by the commission. Submitted site plans, the site plan that you guys previously saw, as you can see in the back corner of the lot is where the accessory structure is going. There is no change to the footprint. Once again, they're just enclosing an existing carport for the golf cart carport. These were the approved elevations from the, I believe, May meeting of 2020, and the changes are occurring on the right elevation, left elevation, rear elevation, and there is a change on the front elevation. I will have side-by-sides of these later on in the presentation. As you can see at the right elevation, we have that enclosed golf cart carport, and then the left elevation we have a window, rear elevation we have the addition of a window, removal of a door, and the addition of a window here on the front elevation. Here are the side-by-side showing the changes. As you can see, the rear elevation is going from a door to a window, and then on the front elevation we're adding a window, and then on the right elevation we are enclosing and adding a door and removing the window that's featured here, and then on the left elevation, as you can see, the eyebrow is staying there as well, are being removed. These are the elevations from the previously approved of the principal dwelling. As you can see, many of the material that's exhibited on here, even the vertical siding, is exhibited on the accessory structure. So the material and the style of construction matches the existing, proposed and approved principal dwelling. This is the material list that was previously approved and then submitted online, so we have a different format here, but all of the material that is being proposed is matching that previously approved material. There is some debate on the use of front door here. It is not actually a front door, but there was not a slot for, I guess, left elevation door, so they put the front door elevation, or left door elevation door information in the front door part of the application. That concludes the staff report, and at this time, I'd like to enter the staff report, presentation, application, applicant's materials, photos, site plans, and findings of fact into the record. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
They shall be admitted into the record. Any questions for Mr. Hughes? Eric, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Of course, this is a new home, and the owners are here, Dale and Mary Carey. The new home has a tremendous amount of Pinehurst character. We're simply changing the garage slightly, minimally, so we can store the golf cart inside instead of under a shed on the exterior. A few other changes were made, which Peter described very clearly, with adding a door and with a little bit of modification on the window. We felt like it helped the look of the structure. That's pretty much it. You know, the footprint hasn't changed. All the impermeable surface is the same. Materials are exactly as approved previously. Hopefully this one will be easier.
Thank you. Any questions for the witness?
I've got one.
The materials list says a front door made of wood. That means, if I understand this, then the garage door is going to be made of wood? Or should that front door mean actually the side door now?
I think we're referring to the side door as,
Okay, I'm just asking because the materials list showed it just said front door, and I wanted to make sure I was clear, so.
Peter, wasn't this the slight change you?
Okay. And I don't have any issue with it as long as I'm clear. And the record's clear what materials match what it is, and so that's why I raised it.
And any other questions for this witness?
Then I had just one other one, if I understood it. Basically, there's what, 3 bays in that side? And it looks like the first one is already got vertical siding on it, and we're just adding the other 2. Is that correct? Did I explain
yes, there
myself?
was already the siding that was on there was already a vertical siding.
Right.
Just extending that wall, so
Okay,
yeah, it's
so
going
you-
to be the same side.
For the other, there's 3 bays, so between the posts, so each one, all 3 of them now will have the same vertical siding that we previously discussed. Okay. That's all I have.
Any other questions from the commission? Are there any other witnesses who wish to be heard on this matter? All right, therefore, we can proceed to discussion.
I was prepared to make a motion. I have no discussion.
All right, a motion would be good.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed major work at 100 Fields Road congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with Historic District guidelines, based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the findings of fact.
Is there a second? Second by David. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed.
And that pesky second motion to approve the COA.
I would be happy to move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed major work at 100 Fields Road.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. Magnolia is the next case, I believe.
Eric, if you could call Miss, I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name, Miss Manus? No, I'm,
Okay.
not appear that she's here.
The applicant is not here?
Not appear that way. Let's just,
Like Kelly Gauntlet.
on that real quick.
Put it at the end of this.
If not, we'll just move it to the end of the agenda and act on it if we need to get the applicant some more time.
Moving along.
No,
142.
okay. All right, the next case on the agenda is 000142, 75 Cherokee Road. Property owners are Thomas and Teresa Berry, and the applicant is Pinehurst Homes.
Just a second to let Mr. Haddock come
On
to the
his way in the
microphone.
door right now.
Mr. Haddock, we went to your case because the applicant for 245 Magnolia, so if you could please step up to your microphone again.
I didn't think you'd argue too terribly hard.
I figured I had another one between and some time. That's great, yeah. All right.
And I remind you, you are still under oath.
I am that, yes, sir.
All right, Peter?
Thank you, Eric. Purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District for demolition of an existing accessory structure and construction of a new accessory structure at 75 Cherokee Road. The property can be further identified in the Moore County Tax Registry by Moore County PIN number 855-2129-55985. The property owners are Thomas and Teresa Berry, and the applicant is Pinehurst Homes. The structure of this presentation is going to be a little bit different because we're doing a demolition and new construction. So we're going to present the demolition case first, and then we're going to have Mr. Haddock present his side of that case. You guys are going to do your motions, and then we'll jump into the second part of the case, just to clarify. This is the front elevation submitted by the applicant of 75 Cherokee Road. This request is before the commission because demolition of a historic structure greater than 120 square feet is considered a major work item. According to our Pinehurst Development Ordinance, the only thing the commission can do today is delay. They cannot deny the case, so you guys can delay it up to 365 days if you deem necessary. Standards of review, the commission must rule on the demolition of the existing shed prior to approving the construction of new accessory structure according to the guidelines. The proposed demolition is of a contributing two-bay garage located in the rear yard of the property. The applicant is demolishing the structure to make space for construction of a new accessory structure. Previously issued COAs for 75 Cherokee Road was a minor COA in 2017 for replacement of windows with like-for-like material and removal of pine tree from the front yard in 2017, which was also a minor COA. Both the primary structure and principal dwelling of 75 Cherokee Road are listed as contributing structures, and all but one of the adjacent properties within the public hearing notification area are listed as contributing structures. The majority of the properties were built in 1895, except for 77 Cherokee Road, which is a commercial structure that was built in the late 20th century. Here's the notification map for 75 Cherokee Road. As you can see, a total of 8 properties were notified for the meeting notification. These were photos submitted by the applicant. The applicant's photos here is what could be called the front elevation. This would be what you would be looking from Cherokee at the structure. This is looking at the two-bay garage from the alley. And once again, this is the front elevation of the structure. And I took some additional photos just to amplify this in case we needed it. This is the left elevation if you're looking at the structure. This is the rear elevation of 75 Cherokee. Once again, this is the principal structure. And here's another photo of the rear elevation. And this is the left elevation as well. And here we are again looking from the alley. The applicant is also proposing to remove this tree. We're going to talk about that in the next case, but this is a historical record. This is a picture from the alley showing the structure again that's being considered for demolition. This is the rear of the structure. And then this is, sorry, that was the left elevation of the structure. This is the rear elevation of the structure. And this is a corner view of the structure. At this time, staff would like to submit the following into the record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant's material, photos, site plans, and findings of fact.
It will be received into the record. Haddock, would you like to proceed?
Sir, thank you. The existing garage really doesn't function very well as a garage. It's the total length from stud to door is 20 feet. An oversized or regular, actually a standard size.
Your microphone's not on.
Push the button right there in front of you. There you go.
Mr. Haddock, I apologize, but can you start from the beginning?
I'll start over.
Sorry about that.
That's no problem. The existing garage I can tell the difference, yeah. The existing garage really doesn't function very well as a garage. The length of the garage itself is 20 feet from the stud wall at the rear and the garage door at the front. You know, standard vehicles are 18 feet in length. To clear the garage door, you'd actually have about 8 inches front and rear on the garage. The homeowner has not used the garage to put a car in, to my knowledge, at all. I think the doors have ever been raised. In fact, the openers are not even functional. The garage itself has a strong smell of mold, and we have not had that investigated or looked at. The reason we have not, we first considered doing a second level on this garage. That just wasn't feasible. Our homeowners both, right now, Mr. Berry is still in the hospital where he had a hip surgery, hip replacement, and fell and shattered the hip. He's been in the hospital now a week and a half or so, I guess. But so we reverted back to do a single level accessory structure with a carport. But the building itself, you know, is we just feel like that, you know, if we can demo it, you know, the siding is, as you can see, is close to ground level. There's been some termites infestation. You can see where it's rotten on the bottom in the past, and it's just not a functional structure.
All right, thank you. Questions for the witness?
Excuse me, Mr. Herring, can you turn your mic on, please? No, it's so good.
In your application, you're indicating you use Dutch lap siding on the garage?
We're on the demolition phase right
Yeah,
now.
you can ask those questions.
Oh,
then.
sorry.
They have to be two separate motions. You guys have to rule on the demolition first.
Sorry.
But there is a proposal for both demolition and reconstruction.
There is, and you'll consider them separately because they're separate issues.
I have none.
Any other questions? Will someone make a motion?
Sure, I'd be glad to. I'll move that the Historic Preservation Commission find that the proposed demolition of 75 Cherokee Road be completed with the Pinehurst Historical District, compliant with the Pinehurst Historical District guidelines, and that the commission does not delay the demolition based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the facts presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Well, hold on, we got to approve the COA, right?
Second phase of that, Peter.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed demolition of the property.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion is carried.
The second part of this review is new construction. It's before the commission because new construction or additions not considered minor work are considered major work. Accessory structures larger than 144 square feet are considered major work. The applicant is proposing to construct a 1,200 square foot accessory structure. As previously stated, 2 minor COAs have been approved for the property, and all but one of the neighboring structures is contributing. Once again, this is the notification map that was sent out, and then this was the site plan submitted by the applicant. I've reoriented it so that it's back here in the left corner. Cherokee Road is over on the right part of the screen. And I also have a zoomed-in version that gives you guys a clearer picture of the footprint of the building. Something to point out is with the approval of the demolition, they're actually going to be moving this structure to be zoning compliant. Previously, the structure was maybe a foot off the property line, but now it's going to be compliant and be 10 feet off the property line. So it's going to come off the alley here, and then they're going to swoop in and pull into the carport addition, which we're going to get into later, how they're going to be using a lattice screen to provide some nice screening and coverage of the building. Just to review that they're actually increasing their compliance once again. The total impervious previous to the proposal was 41%, and now it's 36%. So that's an improvement. And just, I highlighted a few things that they're getting that through the gravel drive. They're eliminating a lot of it with that readjustment of the building. And then that 1,200 square foot is the biggest jump in impervious from the new. Here's the floor plan that was submitted with the applicant. As you can see, it's making space for a 2-bay carport, and then they have an office, kitchen, and bathroom. This is the proposed landscaping plan. The proposed landscaping plan is compliant. They have identified that one tree that I spoke about earlier to be removed. It is 19 inches diameter. It is for you guys to determine whether that historically compromises the historic canopy of the district. This is the front elevation submitted by the applicant. As you can see from the front, you can see the screening lattice. This would be if you're looking from Cherokee Road. They're doing a front porch with a metal roof, and they're doing asphalt shingles, and they're matching the Dutch lap siding of the building. Here we have the rear elevation. This would be looking from the alleyway. We have 3 transom windows, 1 double hung with 2/2, and then once again that lattice siding. They're using shake siding up in the pitch of the roof. And here are the left and right elevations. The right elevation's open to be accessed as a carport, and then you have the left elevation, which would be that office addition with 3 transom windows. The applicant has provided additional samples of other structures that are similar. This is 40 Magnolia with their existing carport. This is 85 Cherokee's accessory structure as it mirrors the construction of 85 Cherokee. And then this is 65 Cherokee, which was previously approved by the commission both in 2019 and in 2020. This is the exterior materials and colors that was submitted by the applicant. The applicant is proposing to match much of the style of the principal structure. The composite Dutch lap, shake siding, and siding trim have been shown and submitted into the record. The windows are proposed to be white, and the shutters are proposed to be dark green. And then the shingle roof is to be more black, and then the metal roof is to be fern green. There is a discrepancy in the record. If you go to your application, there's hunter green versus more black. Hunter green and fern green are essentially the same color, just for the record. And then we have the wood lattice and the proposed painted color of the wood lattice. And we have the brick columns, front door, the front screen door, and the porch light as submitted material. At this time, staff would like to submit the following into the record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant's material, photos, site plan, and findings of fact.
It will be received into the record.
I'm not sure whether this is a question for Peter or not, but it appears that the driveway is being eliminated entirely, yet a car is still going to drive from some place to get in here.
Yeah, so earlier
Change
there's
the
a really good
material.
photo that shows it. By moving the structure, they had to get rid of the driveway, and if you look on screen, so that structure is going to bump out probably to about here, and Wayne can add more onto this, but there's going to be enough for that turnaround when you walk the side. I'm not sure if you have the ability to, but the alley back there does facilitate a driveway access, even with the elimination of what is the driveway today.
Back to the picture again. So you're saying that that building is, that one's going away?
That one's going away.
They're moving it forward X number of feet.
Toward us, right?
They're moving it toward us 10 feet.
All right. So it will come out how far?
Approximately to the first part of this fence.
Right.
That includes the office and everything.
That includes the whole structure will be coming out that much.
Okay, then I think there's,
There's ample room for it to.
I would say.
But does that not count as driveway? Is that considered part of the alley, or?
I'm not sure I understand the question. So the alley is the paved section on the picture. So that's the alley, that's the public access easement. And then this over here, the gravel would be their driveway. It's part of their property. And so the impervious coverage is kind of minusing out because they're moving the structure that's there.
Okay.
They're adding to it, but they already have existing impervious. So it's kind of like a net zero swap.
No, I've been back there. I know exactly where that is, but, okay.
I guess it's like a parking space or driveway in front of it.
Any other questions for Peter?
Well, there were some unanswered questions, right? So I guess we'll pose those.
There were a couple, but
Yeah.
those would be posed to the applicant.
All right, would you like to present your case?
Okay. This particular structure, will be compatible to the existing home. All the material, well, it will have Dutch lap siding to match the house. the roof will match the existing house. We just roofed the house and changed the dormers on the existing house to match. There were 3 dormers, and basically it was about 3 different types of dormers. One had, well, it had different types of shakes and stuff. Anyway, we changed all that. Got a permit to do that in the last 6 months or so. As you can see, that one's not been painted. That's in our scope of work. We'll be painting the house back white, and all that'll happen then. But the German lap siding on this house will be what we'll use. It'll be a composite, on the accessory building. The shakes on the accessory building will be a composite like the shakes on this existing house. This has got a new roof on it. The shingle on the accessory building will match this house exactly. We've done everything that I can think of to try to be compatible. Our windows will have SDL, simulated divided light buttons, grids, so it will match the existing house. The photos that I furnished are actually some accessory buildings on either side of this existing home, one of which we just completed this month and got a final certificate of occupancy on that one there. We just finished it for Dr. Brown. The fence is now painted, by the way. This was a little enlightening to me. Every home on Magnolia that backs up to this alley and Cherokee that backs up to this alley has an accessory building. And I went over to take some photos, and every one of them have got an accessory building. They're different sizes and styles, but I'd say they all, match the existing homes there very well. But opposed to, to do the same thing, obliging the historical structure that's there. We want to complement it as much as we can with this new accessory building.
Thank you. Are there any questions for the witness?
You said the dormer on the house was shakes?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so
We,
that was approved, okay, I
Oh, yeah.
wasn't on then,
Yeah.
okay. I guess, Peter, there were,
Looks like it's lapped, doesn't it? But
yeah, it
it's-
does. There were unanswered questions, I guess. The metal roof specs are going to meet the standards. I guess that wasn't,
Right.
Clear.
There's a metal roof on the rear of this house. This will be the 4th time I've been back to this particular home to do some more restoration. But there is a rear, we may not have a picture of it, but there's a metal roof on the rear of this house, and it is green to blend in more with,
There it is.
see it from the side. Yeah, that was a flat rubber roof and was causing a lot of water damage inside. We also extended the bay a little bit on the back. Yes, looking at it directly from the rear. I think it was a real large improvement. It's almost a shame it was on the rear, but it really looks nice from the back from what we changed it to.
So you use the same material as the metal roof on here will be on what's on the garage?
Yeah.
So that it
Metals
matches
need to
exactly.
match. I'm not certain what's on this application, but if it's not, it needs to match. It's gonna match that, I can tell you that.
Okay.
I need to look at that and be so sure, but.
the other open-ended issue, I guess, was the foundation of the new structure will align with the primary.
I'm sorry,
Peter had indicated there was an open end as to whether the foundation of the new structure will align with that of the primary dwelling structure.
it will.
Yeah, okay.
So you're not truly expanding the footprint. The building itself will be the same size as was previously there?
No. The building is actually larger than what was previously there.
quite a bit larger.
If you look at the screen before you, the original garage was 566.6 square feet, and the accessory building is 1,205 square feet.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, discussion among the members of the commission. Or would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make one small comment. First, well done. Easy to approve for me. The three windows on this, on the rear elevation, which are long and horizontal, and three more on the left side, same window probably. Based on all of the other efforts you've made to be historic, I find those 6 windows strangely not. Just a comment?
Your point?
Just that, they don't seem to quite fit. I have to say they're all over the place in the district, so not disapprovable for that reason. Comment.
Just curious, is that a shower room or a bathroom or?
No, it's actually, what they call that room exactly.
Given its location, I don't think it makes a lot of difference.
It's an office area, and that backs up to the alley. There's quite a bit of traffic, walking more traffic than anything else. Folks from the hotel come, they walk up Theo's and, to all the places that are up there, and, and that's really the purpose of those windows being up high.
Any other discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
I'll take it. I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed major work at 75 Cherokee Road, the new accessory structure, congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with the Historic District guidelines, based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. Discussion. Ready for a vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed major work at 75 Cherokee Road, which is a new accessory structure.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. You have
Thank
your
you.
certificate
Thank you
of
very much, guys.
appropriateness.
Good job.
Out of order? Street address is 160.
Street address is 160.
Peter, I take it our missing applicant has not arrived?
I have not seen her, and I was not made aware of their absence. I did speak to the property owners earlier today. They indicated that she was to show up. See what happens
Up
exactly.
to 160 Palmetto?
That's correct.
Must be the witness.
The
State your name, please. Raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony you're about to give in this proceeding will be the truth, nothing but the truth? Is there anyone else here who's going to be heard on this case? I can swear you in now. All right, thank you. Peter?
The purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District for an exterior modification at 160 Palmetto Road, Unit Number 9. The proposed exterior modification is the addition of a covered entry. The property can be identified in the Moore County Tax Registry on the Moore County PIN number 856-209-161-810. The property owner is Debbie Webb, and the applicant is Kevin Steed of Custom Construct. Background on this application is we have 3 major COAs previously issued. For Unit 10, we have an addition of an awning in 2014. Unit 3, we have an addition of a covered entry. In Unit 10, we have an addition of a covered entry in 2019 and 2020 respectively. According to the National Historic Landmark Survey, the structure at 160 Palmetto Road originally was constructed in 1921 and is listed as contributing. 160 Palmetto is located within the historic core, and all adjacent properties are listed as contributing. The table and map on the following pages tell you about the history of each property. Like I previously said, all the adjacent properties, aside from 255 Cherokee, are considered historic. In total, there was 9 properties notified for this application. The request is before the commission because according to the Historic District Guidelines, additions not considered to be minor work, and changes to roof lines are considered major work. In the past 18 months, this will be the 3rd request for covered entry and the 3rd major COA for 160 Palmetto Road. And for all 3, Mr. Kevin Steed was the applicant and contractor. This is the existing front entry of unit number 9. This is the proposed covered entry. The covered entry has been stated to mirror what was approved for unit 3, but a smaller version. This is a photo taken by staff showing where unit 9 is. If you peek back there, that's where it is. If you can see my cursor, it's around the corner. It is not visible from the street, or at least not highly visible from the street. This is a side elevation, once again, showing that you can sort of make out the light fixture there on the side elevation of the front entry for unit number 9. This is a staff photo of unit number 9 taken again, and this is a photo taken looking out to the street, once again showing that it is very difficult to see this proposed addition from the street. This is a photo of what was approved for Unit 10. This was the arch that was approved by the commission back in 2020, I believe February. And then this was taken by staff. This is Unit 3's approved covered entry, which was approved in August of 2019. And this is the side view of it. And like I said previously, it's kind of a smaller version of this, minus one of the, I'm sure the architecture term is incorrect, piers, but Mr. Herring can correct me. This is the exterior materials and colors list that was provided by the applicant, and then the applicant updated their application through an email to me to include their material samples. So they have a hardy board sample here. The color does not reflect the color that's will be chosen. The color is to match the existing white of the exterior, and then the black asphalt shingle is for the roofing part of the covered addition. At this time, staff would like to submit the following into the record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant's materials, photos, site plans, and findings of fact. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. They will be received into the record. Questions for Mr. Hughes? Hearing none, Mr. Steed?
I got a,
Oh, sorry,
oh, question for what?
for Peter.
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, Mr. Steed? You have anything to add to what's been said? All right, it's, what you've just heard is correct as you understand it. Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
One, the arch cover that you put on Unit 10, does that have the numbers right? Previously, is very harmonious with the shape of the door and the rows above. 3, the shed roof you put over 3, significantly different, is really over an assembly of windows and is very harmonious with those components, square top door, square top windows, and so forth. I'm really curious why you chose the straight shed roof over the very nice arched roof.
Mr. Steed, if you could come closer to the mic, thank you.
Homeowner's decision.
Thank you.
Matter of curiosity, I know this is a condominium building. I take it from what you've just said that the condominium association has not adopted any guidelines for the design of covers over these first floor doors. Is that correct?
No, sir.
Couple quick questions. On your materials list, exterior materials and colors, you say the front elevation is block and then going to hardy board. I'm not sure I understand exactly what that means.
The actual carriage house is a
block building,
Okay.
painted white.
And what you're saying, if I'm not mistaken, is that the piece that you're now putting on is going to be hardy board? Okay, I just didn't understand. And then if you could quickly tell me the difference between shingles asphalt and asphalt shingles? Same thing?
Identical.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. I just wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? Prepared for discussion? Prepared for
I have
motion?
a discussion. I'm going to sound like a broken record, but using the same clause must be compatible with the architecture of the structure. I suggest that the shed roof over the arch top door and rose assembly is not compatible with the architecture of the existing structure. I
Does
think
it
it's
help
best exemplified by the one that is, same building.
I agree, but does it help that it's not visible?
Yes, it
Really?
does help.
In fact, it helps quite a bit, I think, because it says it says on street facing, and this is not street facing.
Yeah.
It's hard to, you had to go in and really look to see that door, right? Yeah. But you make a very good point.
And like I think we've already said, the association hasn't adopted any policy. I don't think it's up for us to set it.
We're required just to meet the conclusions of law, and the conclusions of law are pretty clear that it says street
We've
facing
approved two or
elevation.
three of these.
What David
Yeah, I think-
discussed
I
was
think both
only
are
applicable
appropriate.
to those
This
things.
particular one isn't.
They're all different.
Any further discussion? Are we ready for a motion? Dinner is waiting.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Dave.
Skipping over here. Cherokee, right?
This is Palmetto.
Palmetto.
Richard, your mic's not on.
I noticed the name Webhead. Did they own the other
Actually
unit as well
own-
with the arch?
They own the one with the large lean-to.
Okay,
Mrs.
But I'm
Webb
not sure,
owns
maybe that's
both
why.
units.
She won't-
that was that name rang a bell. Okay.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed work at 160 Palmetto Road, Unit 9, is not consistent with historic guidelines, nevertheless is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the material submitted, and the findings of fact for the following reason. The arched door and rows above, as demonstrated on Unit 10, same building, is quite congruous, I should say, is compatible with the architecture of the structure, whereas the shed roof proposed for this unit is not compatible with the architecture of the structure. Nonetheless, due to its location on the site that is difficult to see from the road, it is congruous with the historic district.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Next motion.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed major work at 160 Palmetto Road, Unit 9.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passes. You have your certificate of appropriateness.
Who was the second on Ann's motion? Does anybody remember?
Richard or I was a tie. Tie goes to the runner.
No, but I think he was talking about the compatibility, right? Yeah. Oh. Oh.
Oh, I get that. I'm with you now. I didn't understand that, yeah.
guess not.
Moving right along.
Hearing none. All right, next case then is 35 Orange Road, is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Peter, will you present the case?
Can you call Mr. O'Connor to the stand? Or podium?
Hello.
While you're there, will you stand and let me swear you in so that I don't forget? You raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm that the testimony you shall give to the commission shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Please be seated. Is there anyone else who plans to testify in this proceeding? I can swear you in. Otherwise, Peter, please proceed.
The purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District for multiple exterior modifications to the primary and accessory structures at 35 Orange Road. Modifications include an addition, replacement of multiple windows, replacement of a front door, removal and replacement of siding, replacement of a rear stoop with new material, and restoration of an existing accessory structure. The property can be further identified in Moore County Tax Registry by Moore County PIN number 856-209-061956. The property owner is Thomas O'Connor, and the applicant will be Thomas O'Connor. This is a front elevation photo of 35 Orange. Background on the property is this is not the first time we're seeing this case this year. Mr. O'Connor got a major COA for a front elevation roofline adjustment in 2020. There's also a 2007 major COA issued for demolition of accessory dwelling and garage. The garage was actually maintained and was never demolished, so that's the accessory structure we're speaking about today. And then in 2007, we had another minor COA for relocation of utilities and addition of a 3.5 feet white picket fence. According to the National Historic Landmark Survey, the primary structure at 35 Orange was constructed in 1916. Many of the adjacent properties are contributing structures. In total, there was 5 properties notified for the case. The request is before the commission because new construction or the addition is not considered major work. Replacement of architectural details that change the design or materials from the existing details, replacement of windows and doors that are not compatible with the existing windows and doors, and resurfacing building with different materials from which were removed are considered major work. The full request includes framing and enclosed a 4x4 existing cinder block foundation, which will make more sense later. Replacement of 37 windows, 32 first floor windows, 5 second floor windows in order to upgrade window quality and create uniform cottage look. Replace vinyl front door with a wood front door. Align the front door frame to the adjacent windows, which results in raising the front door. As a result of raising the front door, the applicant is requesting to raise the front stoop step inches 3 inches to align with the new front door height. Remove existing wood horizontal lap siding and replace with fiber cement lap siding, 5-inch reveal. Remove all existing rear stoop materials and replace with red brick and black iron rails. And then for the accessory building, he's proposing to replace existing siding, German lap siding, trim, 2 windows, same style, material and size, roofing material, same style, size and color, and vertical slate wood doors, same styles, size, and color as well. The applicant's also stated in his application that he intends to source historic material if possible. The painting or the colors for the siding is powder sand, the trim is moonlight white, and then the door is Jumel peach tone, and we'll have color swatch samples of those later. The applicant submitted this as a site plan. A formal site plan was not required because this is an existing foundation, so there's no expansion of the existing footprint. He's just going vertical with what's there. So this is on the left rear of the property, and it's a cinder block foundation that's just being boxed in. It's approximately a 16 square foot addition to the structure, but still an addition nonetheless. This is the existing front elevation submitted by the applicant. This is the rear elevation submitted by the applicant. Once again, this is the existing rear. And then we have the existing right elevation submitted by the applicant and the existing left elevation. Then the applicant is proposing to modify, if you saw it there's a big change in the windows. You have a lot more dividers, you have a lot more simulated divided light segments within the windows. You have the brick stoop being raised 3 inches, and then the entry door is changing to a wood door versus a vinyl door. Here on the rear elevation, once again, the windows are changing. He's actually adding French doors to the rear, right here, and then those brick steps we talked about, and brick steps with the handrail over here. Existing right now is a wood ramp system and decking that will be removed. Here's the right elevation. We get a good view of those brick steps and stoops we're talking about. Again, we have windows all changing out throughout the first floor. And we have the left elevation here, which is showing that addition that we were talking about. And I have photos to show later of really what the conditions are on site, so you guys can better see that. This was an applicant's submitted photo. I typed up on the right basically a summary of what he's proposing, the existing footing foundation to be framed in, and the adjacent roof line is to be extended and matched. The placement of a French patio door, this is on the rear elevation, so he's putting in 2 French patio doors and once again adding that brick stoop here. These are photos taken by staff. This is the front photo, and then this is on the left side of the home if we're looking at the home. And then we're going to creep over here. We're starting to see that in addition, but we're also seeing the current state of those windows that he's wanting to repair. And then here you get to see the most interesting thing in the historic district, a foundation with roofing material on top of it. Better photo. I have no idea who decided to do this. I'm guessing there were some flooding issues and they decided, let's put a roof on it. Roofs have a good job of keeping water out of places. Here we have vertical lap siding. He is taking the vertical lap siding off. Vertical lap siding is kind of seen as okay, but the fact that he's not keeping is not an issue. Here is a good photo of the rear showing the grade of the rear's siding here. You can kind of see some debris caught up, and then the state of the windows as well. And then here we have the right elevation. If you're looking at the structure, seeing the ramp on the rear here, that's all coming down, and he's going to create a brick stoop here with black handrails. And here we have a right elevation photo. And my favorite part of this photo is he actually has a tree growing on his roof line. Once again, he's replacing all the windows. He does have a permit to do interior work. If you guys did a site visit and see what was going on, he has a permit to do interior work. He has a permit to restore some of the existing windows. So if you saw some things out of place, he's doing it by the book and he's okay. This is the photos of the accessory structure that's existing. As you can see, the door here is a much needed repair. This is the front elevation of it. This is the left elevation of the structure. He's going to replace those windows there and probably redo some of the landscaping. And here's the rear elevation of that, and here's the right elevation of that. Once again, windows needing repair. This is the material information that was submitted. Once again, he's going from wood to fiber cement throughout, and then he's going from a vinyl front door to wood, and then he's going from wood windows to wood and vinyl windows. Vinyl windows are allowed within the historic district. These are the material samples submitted by the applicant. I actually did a zoom in so we could better see these. He's pointing out that their larger low sash windows are his desire, and he's doing the 6/6 construction. Once again, we have another window. These are the transom windows that he's proposing and the smaller 2x2 windows, and I have a zoomed in photo of that so we can better see those dimensions if those become a topic later. And once again, we have the long linear windows that he's proposing, and I've actually zoomed in again so that we can talk about those dimensions if we need to. These are the proposed French doors that were submitted with the application, and then he's proposing the Allura fiber cement. Here's an example of what Allura fiber cement is, and then for the siding, trim, and door, we have the color palette swatches there to the right so you guys have an idea what Jamil Peach Tone actually is. And at this time, staff would like to submit the following to the record: staff report, presentation, application, applicant's material, photos, site plans, and findings of fact.
They shall be received into the record. Questions for Peter? All right, Mr. O'Connor, what would you have to add? Can you move a little closer to your mic?
No, Peter laid it out pretty descriptively. I mean, we're basically restoring this house after decades. It's been scabbed down a million different ways. And I'm trying to basically make the elevations look consistent, especially with the windows. I have historic windows on the top floor that are being sustained. And down on the first floor, we just have a lot of variation: 6/6, 6/1, 9/1, and I'm just wanting to have consistency across all the windows and have them all be cottage style. And then I actually have 2 windows on the front elevation. Peter, can you go to the existing? So there's windows there on the right side that's facing Orange Road and one on the other side that I'm going to take out and actually have them frame the French doors on the back. Because they're 2 nice historic windows, but I'm not really sure how to use. I wasn't sure how to use them in a way that was consistent on the front elevation, but I still wanted to have them on the structure, so we thought that this would be a good place. But for the most part, the only thing that really seems different, so to speak, is going from the wood lap to the cement fiber. And I walked in on that whole discussion, so I appreciate the question.
Thank you. Questions for the witness?
I would have a comment more than a question. I think you're to be commended for the extraordinary lengths you're going to recreate something. I wonder whether it wouldn't have been easier to demolish and rebuild new, but that's a different question, but.
But can I say that historically, as I've done these restorations in North Carolina, I specifically buy houses like this that are set inside existing setbacks because you get to have this beautiful yard. If I were to demo that house, and that even assumes you guys would say yes, you'd have to move the structure over 15 feet, and you lose the beautiful half-acre lot.
Method to the madness.
But thank you very much. I appreciate that.
This is a comment rather than a question. I've been walking by that house for the 11 years that I've lived in Pinehurst. Thank goodness you're finally going to fix it up.
Thank you to my neighbors who have been so, gracious. I mean, I've owned that house for 15 years, and my mom lived in it after I bought it from Peter Barrett, and the country club was very gracious over the last year because we had tremendous water problems coming off the Holly parking lot. And one of the reasons that block piece exists is they put sump pumps in the basement, but the village engineer and the engineer from the club, we all got together and they actually redid the culvert on the other side to move all that water off the parking lot.
Wow.
Behind us. So I think the Pinecrest is not too happy because their water problem still has not been solved. I don't know if that problem will ever be solved, but yeah, everyone's been very patient with us.
Any other questions?
Got a few. On page 9 on the material, it says it's unclear from the submitted material if the windows will feature simulated or true divided lights. It's also unclear if snap-in buttons will be used.
We're using SDL dividers on the lights.
You mean the windows?
Excuse me, the windows, thank you.
Okay, the record was saying something different, that's why I was asking.
Any other questions?
You know what, I just echo the comment. I look forward to seeing the finished product, too.
All right. There are no more questions, discussion among the commissioners? Or is anyone ready to make a motion?
I'm ready to make a motion.
Please proceed.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find that the proposed major work at 35 Orange Road congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District and consistent with Historic District guidelines, based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the findings of fact, including the correction on the windows.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by David.
No, I have a question.
Oh, you have a question?
This is not consistent because the windows are not being replaced like they are. They're, am I right? You are changing the dimensions of the windows and the construction of the windows to be more compatible, as your letter says, with the cottage look.
Are you asking if the specific height and width of the windows is changing?
Yes.
I would say in almost every case, no.
Mr. O'Connor, I apologize, but can you speak into the microphone?
I don't think we identified in the application window by window what is the difference, but I think in almost all cases, generally speaking, the answer is no, that we're just trading out the existing window with
There are a few, just FYI. On the front elevation, he talked about it in his description, that one vertical window is being changed in its dimension. So there's like one or two one-offs that are being changed, but in whole, most of them are remaining.
My comment, Tom, was based on the staff recommendation that it wasn't consistent.
Oh, excuse me, okay.
Okay, that's where I'm coming from.
It would just mean that you guys would need to modify that previous motion, because I think in there I also say that it's not that it's incongruous, it's just not compatible with what's there.
The motion doesn't speak to compatibility, only to congruousness.
Sorry. Consistency with the guidelines. So what Mr. Lurch is getting after is that it's not consistent with the guidelines because he's not matching the existing dimensions, which means it needs to be the congruous and inconsistent with the guideline statement versus
I
the
would
congruous and
respectfully
consistent.
like to restate the motion.
Please do.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find that the proposed major work at 35 Orange Road is not consistent with Historic District guidelines, nevertheless is deemed congruous with the Pinehurst Historic District based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the findings of fact. The reasons for which it is not consistent are primarily have to do with the design of the windows, dimensions of the windows.
All right, so moved and.
Second.
Second by Terry. Any discussion?
I think I do, hold on. I'm still looking.
Well, I guess, I mean, I know what your point you're making, but should we have as a reason something to the effect, I guess these windows were added afterward or not?
Well,
These
you
are
look at the
hodgepodge that have built up or no?
look at the history of the house and specifically the historic maps, footprint of the house in the Gibbon Library, you'll notice that every 15 or 20 years, another shed was built onto the house, and therefore another idea of windows and a
Right.
different era of windows. And so I think no matter how you would do this job, you're going to have incompatibility
Right.
because you have to pick one style.
The ones that are there are not consistent already because they were built at different
Yeah,
times.
this is the,
Well, I'm just wondering for the record, I mean, not to show that he's deviating from, like, I don't know. This is because the house is a hodgepodge, right?
Yeah,
And he's
right.
trying to make it consistent, so just for the record, that's my concern.
Any other discussion? Ready for a vote? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Next motion?
I would move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve a certificate of appropriateness for the proposed major work at 35 Orange Road.
Second.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. You have your
thank
seat
you,
up.
and thank you to the parliamentarian.
Good luck.
Okay. Hey, you may have a short break. Remember, we have only 2
I understand.
cases to come.
I'll make it as quick as I can.
I'm not trying to rush you.
call us back.
All right. Meeting is come to order. And we are up to COA 00145,
147.
Pinehurst Country Club, Carolina Vista. With us? Have two witnesses. Would you stand and state your names, please?
Calvin Berkeley with Pinehurst Resorts.
Mr. Tice, can you turn your microphone and say your name again for the record? I apologize.
Turn it on. There you go.
Yep, you got it.
Don Tice with Tice Keister Architects.
Calvin Berkeley with Pinehurst Resorts.
Raise your right hand. You affirm that the testimony you will give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. Please be seated. Peter, will you present the case?
The purpose of this public hearing is to consider a request within the Pinehurst Historic District for a proposed addition to Pinehurst Country Club Number 2 at 1 Carolina Vista. The property can be further identified in Moore County Tax Registry by Moore County PIN number 856-213-032-663. The property owner is the Resorts of Pinehurst, Inc., and the applicant is Calvin Berkeley of Pinehurst Resorts. 1 Carolina Vista is listed as a contributing structure according to the National Historic Landmark Survey. Some of the adjacent properties within the public hearing notification area are also listed as contributing structures. Background of the property, as you can see, there's a vast history of previously approved minor and major COAs. For the sake of time, I'm not going to review each one of them. National Historic Landmark Survey table shows, once again, we're not going to review all these because there was a total of 18 properties notified, but as you can see, many of the adjacent properties were within the contributing. The ones that are not are the ones that were built in the 1970s, which are housing developments today. Here's the notification area. As you can see, it's quite large. It's because the adjacent properties are golf courses. We did notify all the golf courses.
They got notified.
So Pinehurst got a lot of letters today. This request is before the commission because according to the Historic District Guidelines, new construction or additions not considered minor work are considered major work. The applicant is proposing to make an addition to Pinehurst Number 2's Pro Shop by covering an existing uncovered porch converting it into conditioned space. Because the applicant is proposing to enclose an existing porch, there is no increase to the building footprint, therefore staff did not require a formal site plan at this time. The location of the addition is not a primary facade, but what could be considered the rear and side of the structure, and it could be visible from the street. All major work must be approved by the commission. This is the excerpt from the application, which I'm going to read into the record. This is an addition to the south end of the Pinehurst Number 2 clubhouse. It is an extension of the existing pro shop. The new conditioned space does not create any additional building footprint. The proposed structure is being constructed over what is currently an uncovered porch. A recent storm detached a small metal roof structure from the larger building. The new massing will follow the lines of the I can't read that word, to the west in the pro shop, colonial to the east. The roofing materials will blend with the existing roof line. The existing exterior skin will be stucco to match the adjacent structures, punctuated by windows and small wood wainscots. The windows are articulated to blend the existing windows. The applicant did update their elevations to take away that wood wainscot just to reflect in the record. This is the proximity map locating where the addition is going to go, and then this is the site plan that was asked for by staff showing that we have a 45 by 24 foot addition going in on the rear of the property. This is the floor plan, if you will, for 1 Carolina Vista showing the area that will be newly conditioned. This is the front elevation corridor showing the elevation of what you're going to look at from the rear here. And then this is the new shop entrance along with the front elevation columns and corridor. Staff took some photos to show you how visible it would be. So in that approximate boxed area is where that addition was going to go. I think it's kind of unfair to say it's visible because it is about 400 feet away from the road, but they don't have any trees because the cradle doesn't have any trees. Here's another photo. They have some coverage farther up the road, and then there's a zoomed in picture of where it's going to approximately go. This is the exterior materials and colors that was submitted by the applicant. As you can see, they're matching much the existing materials that are there, and the standing seam metal roof will be red to match the existing red roof of the structure. At this time, staff would like to submit the following to the record: staff report, presentation, applicant's materials, application, photos, site plan, and findings of fact.
Thank you. They will be received into the record. Which of you gentlemen, or do you want?
One question for Peter, if I may.
Oh, question. Sorry.
The hearing sign, where did that go? Because,
It went on the traffic circle. I figured.
oh,
the
it
end-
did. I was
went-
wondering.
Yeah, the miniature traffic circle on
Okay.
2 and 5 there, front of the tennis
Oh, I didn't
courts.
even see it, okay.
Yeah, I figured that was the most logical place to
Yeah,
put
that's
it, because
funny.
that's an entry point. I didn't have a exceeding amount of signs this time.
Yeah.
So, one sign per property, unfortunately.
Those signs might say something about historic something or other, so people know what it is, right? Because it's,
So it just says public hearing, that's all that's required by state
Yeah, I
statute, is
know,
public
but
hearing.
for
But those signs
information.
are multi-purpose, is why they're just that standard blurb that's used for all of our board meetings.
Any other questions for Peter? Gentlemen, which of you is going, you can both speak, you can do it in
I
harmony
will,
if
to
you
try to
like.
keep Calvin from talking. Jump in whenever you want to, Calvin. Like I said, my name is Don Tice. I'm with Tice Keister Architects. We do a lot of work with Pinehurst. And this was an interesting, if you'd go to the next slide, there you go. That one or the floor plan, either one will work. So this was an interesting proposition because, as Peter stated, it's on the south side, which isn't the front of the building, but it's kind of a ceremonial front because it faces Thistledew and the cradle. And this portion of the building has always been kind of treated like a back of house. And then when the windstorm took the awning off, it really looks like a back of house piece. And so I think it's very appropriate that Pinehurst is doing something. And our challenge was, as you're facing this elevation from the course and you're looking at the building, the left side is what I'll call the Donald Ross Grill side. It's older, more historic. It has curved columns that have entasis in them. And then the right side is what I'd call the newer 1980s-ish pro shop, which has a different type of column on it. If you go around to the east side, where the tee boxes are, there you can find another variation on a theme in terms of column type, column spacing, those kind of things. And so our challenge was to try to find something that could stitch the right side of this facade and the left side together. And the one thing that holds the Pinehurst Clubhouse number 2 together is the concept of a colonnade. And so we've tried to put that colonnade back in, create a porch where people can actually use and sit on, so it actually becomes a functional space, kind of a threshold between the golf course and the inside. And then at the same time, use similar materials. And yeah, either one of those are good. Yeah, go back to the other one you were on, Peter, if you wouldn't mind, right there. We did that one. That's an odd-looking elevation, but if you cut off, if you're on the porch, your back's to the columns and you're facing the wall there, we had to put that in because up high, you can see there's a series of windows. So when you're standing down or walking past it, you can look up under the walkway awning, see, of course, the larger windows in front, and then the higher windows up above. That's done to get light into there, but there are some retail components within the ownership that think if light hits anything in their retail store, it's going to evaporate immediately. So it's kind of like if you've ever seen The Wizard of Oz, it's when Dorothy hits her with the water. That's pretty much what they think is going to happen to their shirts, I believe. So we put the windows up high so it would allow in some indirect lighting, but would still not fade a lot of the retails. That's the reason for the spacing of the windows and the size of the windows too. And so we just didn't end up with a big long white wall there. You can see we've indented it at certain areas to create this pattern. This pattern lines up with the columns that are out front, and the colonnades are evenly spaced at a spacing kind of similar to either side, but not exactly like each. So that's basically where we went. The windows are relatively traditional. In this particular image, at least on the screen I'm looking at, okay, it's much better on this screen, so it means you're looking. In this screen, it's stretched, it's not proportioned. What I'm looking over there is really the appropriate proportion. So it's a more traditional window configuration. And there again, not unlike the last applicant, Pinehurst has a lot of different window styles and types as well because it is a bit piecemeal, and that's part of the story of the building. All the old buildings, we do primarily historic restoration, and all these old buildings tell a story because you can't take it back to one time period, you know. because it's been added to, it's been taken off, it's been repaired, it's been added to again. So when we're doing these old buildings, we pick a story to tell to the National Park Service, and that's how we do it. In this case, we're not presenting to the National Park Service, we're presenting to you guys. So we had larger windows, and we wanted something that would reflect a more traditional look from the Donald Ross Grill side, and that's why we have the window pattern that we have. The Muttons would be simulated divided light. They're going to cast a shadow. That's really critical. And answer any questions. And the base that you walk on, when you walk around it, is going to be brick. That current patio has gorgeous old bricks on it, and we'd like to hopefully reuse those, if not mimic those. But I would like to reuse them if we could. So just told the owner that. All it takes is money. So are there any questions?
Questions? Hearing none. Ready for discussion among the members of the commission? Or even a motion?
Section B.A.3. Covered wall material, including wooden siding, wooden shingles, stucco, brick, and stonework with coatings of materials. Oh, no. It works when I write it aloud.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Anybody ready to make a motion?
Yeah. Yeah. And nobody sits there?
Your mic's not on?
It's an attractive feature. I think it's going to tie in the structure beautifully, and we have breakfast in Payne's Pub every single Saturday morning as a family. We walk this way around, and this is going to be a great addition, so.
And trying to see that site from Route 5 runs into a risk of collision, I think.
Start to say death.
All right, who feels like, who hasn't made a motion today?
You mean?
Okay.
I move the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed major work at 1 Carolina Vista converts with the Pinehurst Historical District and consistent with the Historic District guidelines based on the testimony provided and materials submitted and findings of fact.
Second.
We have to restate the motion. Unfortunately, Tom, you had your mic off.
Sorry?
I apologize.
Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't catch
I
it
told you
earlier.
my brain was getting fried time. I move that the Historic Preservation Commission find the proposed major work at 1 Carolina Vista congruous with the Pinehurst Historical District and consistent with the Historic District guidelines based on the testimony given, the materials submitted, and the findings of fact, period.
Richard, you're going to second? All right. Motion has been
Richard,
made and seconded.
hang on. Richard, your mic's off.
Second.
Leave it out. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Therefore, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? None.
I move that the Historic Preservation Commission approve the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed major work at 1 Carolina Vista.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Both motions have been approved, and you have your certificate of appropriateness.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great project. Yeah.
Yeah.
No one from 155 Everett either?
For the record, 155 Everett and 30 Kelly has withdrawn their application. I received an email from Judy Davis that the sale did not go through and that the applicant is not building on the property today. That one's off. For the benefit of the applicant at 245 Magnolia, I think that we should continue the case, but also maybe discuss a little bit of the lackings so that we can provide an updated, list of things that they need to do with their application, so maybe expedite the next hearing. So.
And you're going to take care of that discussion?
Yeah, I'm going to take care of that discussion. I'm going to do.
Not gonna be us.
I'm not doing a formal presentation. Let's just discuss some of the issues. So, they mislabeled the front elevation, and they called it the rear elevation. So that's the first mistake for the record. The second mistake for the record is they didn't talk about their metal roofing here. It clearly says metal roofing in the exhibit, and it clearly looks like metal roofing. So for the record, they'll need to submit a roofing sample because while they're matching the rest of the architecture and material to the existing primary dwelling, this does not match, so they would need to submit that to the record.
And I think there's several other things in there, but we also need to be careful what we discuss without the applicant
Yeah,
here.
correct, without the applicant here, but this is just a list of things that are missing so we can provide a written record to them to update it with the
There are
continuance.
many things missing.
That's a lot. And
Rear elevation was not provided. I don't know what would be on it other than lap siding, but they should update it with that. So that's that. We have front elevations and side photos taken by staff and what the applicant submitted, which was their material submission. But now that they have ample time, they should be able to provide at least a digital representation of what they're going to be doing there. So we can update the record with new material, both for the asphalt shingle, the windows, the door, the garage door, and the lap siding.
because the answers were match existing in many cases.
It was match existing.
Which I didn't know, wasn't sure what that meant, but.
So the existing, so in my slideshow, you can see that I kind of spelled it out a little bit to help them out, that they're proposing asphalt shingles, they have asphalt shingles, they're proposing double hung 2/2 windows, they have existing double hung 2/2 windows, and then they're gonna match the Dutch lap siding, which is shown in their elevations and shown in the photos. But they would need to update that themselves this time.
So if I understand it, then you're going to discuss this whole package with them and update the package before we see it again, is that correct?
That is correct, so that we
Okay.
get some additional information. So you will see an updated exhibits list, and you'll also probably see an updated staff report, not vastly updated, but, versus me saying material wasn't provided.
We don't have to formally take action to defer this, do we?
You do need to formally continue it, because it is part of the public hearing.
I make a motion that we formally continue 245 Magnolia, which is COA 2020-00137.
I suggest that you add to that it is being rescheduled after Peter is satisfied that the application.
I think we can only do it for 30 days.
Just the next scheduled meeting, just add that bit in there.
Okay,
That'll suffice.
then I'll say that again. I make a motion that we reschedule 245 Magnolia Road, COA 2020-00137 to the next scheduled meeting.
For a second.
Second.
Just to update that as friendly amendment by staff, date would be November 19th, time would be 4 p.m. in Assembly Hall, 395 Magnolia Road.
Add that.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that's done, it's passed.
We have one more thing, and then you guys are free to kick me out the door. Minor works. So staff approved, it looks like 5 minor works in the past month. We had a re-roof, we had fence, sign, we had re-siding. So for re-siding, this was for 50 Rattlesnake. This is the print shop. They have an existing vertical metal seam siding. They're going back with metal seam siding, which would be congruous. As long as it's like for like, I can approve it as staff. The only difference is they are changing it from the dark green to a white line as well. So that one I just wanted to touch on because it was a little bit different from what you're used to seeing. A sign was approved for 100 Magnolia Road. Purple Thistle is moving from its location adjacent to Theo's to across the street from Drum and Quill and next to the Tea Parlor. Then you have a fence at 55 Page Road. There's a 4-foot white picket fence in the rear. And then re-roof at 245 Dundee. They just needed to reshingle their house. And then a fence at 170 Palmetto Road. I haven't inspected that one yet. 55 Road was inspected, but 170 Road Palmetto was also a picket fence in the rear yard.
I just throw out for further discussion if anybody cares later down the road, whenever you want to do it, but why is, if you replace a roof, that seems to me that should just fall under, you just do it, but,
That's a repair.
I know, but if you're replacing it, it seems to me with the very same thing.
So what you're saying is you'd like to put that into, maintenance, routine maintenance, as long as it's matching for matching?
That's what I would suggest, but I just leave
Like,
it open for discussion.
That's a guideline discussion, which I'm sure
Yeah.
that based on tonight's conversation and previous conversations and the theme that we've been having, which is the guidelines need to be updated and reflect what really needs to be reviewed and what doesn't.
So add that to the list.
If I may,
On the
I'd
list.
like to request two motions. First, we haven't gone out of the public hearing yet, so would somebody please move to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
John, John and Tom.
Done. Now, would somebody like to move to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor,
Yes,
say
Peter,
aye.
we beat your estimate.
Aye.
6:30.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
-1 case for the record, -1 case.
You thought it was going to be 7:30.
Minus 2.